Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour. My name is Martin Cowart, and I'm so excited today to let you know that my cousin and the inaugural poet laureate of Orlando, Florida, Susan Lilley, is my guest as we are continuing to celebrate women this week. And oh, what fun it has been. We've been celebrating Amanda Gorman. We've been celebrating Maya Angelou. We've been celebrating Mary Oliver. And today we're going to be celebrating my very own cousin, Susan Lilley. And y'all hear from me every day, so I'm gonna shut up right this minute. And I'm going to introduce Susan. And again, I just want to say one thing. If you're joining us, please just type your name into the chats and say hello so that I know who you are. I know you're here. Otherwise, I just see a number, and I really like knowing who you are. And if you've got some comments or have questions, please type them into the comment section. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So with those few things, Susan, do you take it and have some fun here?
All right. Thank you so much, Martin.
Yeah.
Well, Martin is so special to me. We don't see each other often enough, but now that the plague is dying down, I'm headed to New York area to see you because I have people.
Fantastic. My dog is wanting to get in the back door. I'm going to jump off for her in a second and let her in, or she's going to bark and drive us crazy.
Oh, that's fine. You know, I'm a teacher, and I've been doing a lot of online teaching in the last year, and we have had more dog interruptions and hilarious family things happen, and it's just been a riot to see a window into my students' lives. And of course, we all just laugh about it. It's like, sorry, but dogs are the #1 class interrupter online. God love them. So I have been writing poetry most of my life, but I never took it seriously. I'm a literature person. I have my first advanced degree was a master's in literature. And I really was into teaching and just reading. I mean, if someone could just pay me to read good literature, that would be my ideal job. But teaching turned out, and writing, I did a lot of advertising and PR writing, but teaching is where I'm meant to be. I love to share my love of literature with all ages of students. Currently, I'm teaching high school seniors in the AP literature class, so that's a lot of fun. But writing came to me late as a vocation, because I thought, there's so many good writers out there. Why do they need me? You know, I just thought, but then I couldn't take it anymore. I just started writing poems. It was just the way for me to tell my truth. And everybody has their own way. And I found poetry to be something that when I write a poem, I'm not thinking about who's going to read it. I'm writing to capture this moment or this emotion, or to somehow work through something that really needs working through. And it may not look like that by the time you get the finished version, but the process alone is just magical to me. And it's become time that I really need to take. So I'm on spring break, and instead of partying it up with, bikers in Daytona Beach or whatever, I am going to the beach, but I'm going to be carving out some major poetry time, and I'm so excited about that. It's sort of like a spiritual retreat. It's it's to be alone enough to really get down to what's going on in the lower registers. That's where I need to be to write a poem.
I want to pipe in here and just comment one thing. What I teach as a prosperity coach and mindset coach is what we all want to do is to enter into what I call that chaotic, uncreated energy zone of creativity. We don't know what we're going to write. And the
That's
egoic
right.
mind gets very nervous and anxious about going into that zone until we practice it enough. But once we get in there, all of a sudden the whole world changes and we begin to pull all these chaotic bits and pieces together that don't make any sense to the human mind, the binary brain, but they turn,
Right.
as like a painter, it turns into something beautiful and mysterious and creative and transformative. And that's exactly what I love hearing. That's the way you, that's why I had to share that, because that's exactly where I want to try to guide most of my entrepreneurs into to create their businesses, is to get into that same zone and they can begin to come up with creative ideas about how to build and grow their businesses.
Yeah. And if you can't cut out some of the noise, you're not going to get to that zone.
Right.
I'm trying, I was talking to my students the other day about, and they're only 18. I said, how many of y'all feel guilty when you haven't accomplished something in like an hour? And they were just, yeah. I said, I hope this spring break, you need to carve out some time to just be with yourself and see what happens. No agenda, no list, And they looked at me like, what? But,
I love that you gave that advice, because when you and I were speaking yesterday, you said, well, I've got to get up in the morning. I think, yeah, so me too. And that's what I advise. That's what I do. And that's what I advise every person that works with me. Get up in the morning, set a sanctuary up for yourself, and get your favorite beverage and just sit and start your day being, and let that presence rise up in you.
oh,
And so that that presence is driving the bus for the day.
yes.
Because when I wake up, the ego wants to drive the bus with its own plans. But if I will just take the time to stop, slow down, get still, and be, all of a sudden, that what I call Joy the Wise Woman, that creative genius within me, she becomes present. And then she's the one planning my day. And the day's a lot more fun that way.
I love that, Martin. That's so true. And I need to follow that advice that we both give more often.
You just told me that you do it. That's what you're doing. I'm just saying, I'm just sharing with you how effective it is, because you gave that advice to your students. I give that advice because there is nothing. We all think we have to do our way into prosperity. And what I would say is, a prosperity, we need to be prosperous, and we will begin to live into prosperity.
Amen to that. Okay, well, maybe I'll read a poem.
That's great.
I love to, I write about loss like everybody. Everybody has loss in their life, and it is really an interesting thing to understand how you feel about that through writing. I think that sometimes I start writing when I don't even have any ideas, because writing is a way of thinking, even if I write gibberish for a while. But anyway, I'm going to write about a thing that happened after my mother died. And my mother was like a muse to me in her death. It was such a gift. I sat with her for weeks before in her room. She had a slow decline, and it was actually sort of a gift. She wasn't terribly miserable until the end. And so we had a lot of time together. And I was so aware of our circumstances. And the closer she got, I call it this kind of that thin space between here and there. And it felt like a really sacred time with her. So after she passed, I was trying to deal with life and relatives and everything that was going on. And something weird happened on the street. And I'm going to read the poem about it, because this event with a bunch of bees actually didn't have anything particularly to do with my mother's death, but in fact, it had everything to do with it. Anyway, the weird thing that happened. The poem is from my book, Venus in Retrograde. It's called Bees in Mourning. Even in a house of death, someone has to walk the dog. Gratefully, I pulled Gracie out the front door and attached her by leash to my distracted self. Somewhere on that walk, I began to hear them, soft and faint, like a transistor radio left on in the attic. The frantic hum got louder, and then I saw them, and Gracie stopped still in front of a huge gray scarf, simply levitating above the asphalt, a twinkling swath from one hedged corner to another. They hummed together, each tiny movement sculpting their undulating shape. We stood motionless, more in awe than fright. Relatives came. Someone who knows such things said their queen had died, and the bees were lost and blind with confusion. It takes days, he said, but at last the bees will calm, they will dissipate. I checked the swarm each day, warned the neighbors, and the bees stayed locked in their panic until this morning. The air has turned cold and they are gone. I walk through the space and still hear that vibrating choir, that low, insistent chanting. So that's a poem I call a Seven Sisters poem. You know, if you look at the constellation, the Pleiades, you can't really look at it straight on and count those 7 stars. But if you stare at the black space right next to it, you can count the stars in your peripheral vision. So sometimes when things are difficult for me to process in poetry, like painful, like loss, I find if I write about something else going on in the world that's somehow connected but not connected, it brings me right to that place. So it's kind of something I try sometimes.
Wow, that's a beautiful poem. Would
Thanks.
you read it again? I love to hear poems the second time, because the first time I'm hearing it, I'm trying to kind of think of it as a story, and the second time I'm able to kind of relax and just let it feel me.
Sure. I know I have a bookmark on it.
You didn't know I was going to ask you that.
No, I don't know. Maybe it fell out, but no, I've got it here somewhere. I do. Ah, there it is. Bees in Mourning. Even in a house of death, someone has to walk the dog. Gratefully, I pulled Gracie out the front door and attached her by leash to my distracted self. Somewhere on that walk, I began to hear them, soft and faint, like a transistor radio left on in the attic. The frantic hum got louder, and then I saw them. And Gracie stopped still in front of a huge gray scarf, simply levitating above the asphalt, a twinkling swath from one hedged corner to another. They hummed together, each tiny movement sculpting their undulating shape. We stood motionless, more in awe than fright. Relatives came. Someone who knows such things said their queen had died, and the bees were lost and blind with confusion. It takes days, he said, but at last the bees will calm. They will dissipate. I checked the swarm each day, warned the neighbors, and the bees stayed locked in their panic until this morning. The air has turned cold, and they are gone. I walk through the space and still hear that vibrating choir, their slow, low, insistent chanting.
Wow.
That's my own poem.
That is a beautiful poem.
Thanks, Martin.
And knowing you and your mother, and knowing your mother very well, she was one of my favorite people on the planet. And
mine too. I miss her every day.
I'm sure you do. And I know when I moved to Orlando, Florida, Winter Park, when I was 25 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Your mom.
You were so young.
We were all so young. Your mom took me under her wing, and she really introduced me to people, made me feel welcome to Orlando, Winter Park, and it really made a huge difference in me in that experience of living in that part of the world. And I got to know you and got to know her and got to know others, because she was a favorite cousin of my father's too.
So. Yes. Oh, yes. You know, she named my brother John after y'all. John Martin. Martin's his middle name.
Oh, I forgot. It just made me cry a little bit. That's great.
I'm going to see John Martin this weekend. I'm so excited.
You tell John Martin Cowart said hello.
John Martin Lilley.
Where is John Martin Lilley these days?
He's in Austin, Texas, doing great. His two girls one's out of college, one's in, and coming into town for some business. So we're, of course, grabbing him for a family jam. So it'll be fun.
Beautiful, beautiful. Do you have another poem for us today?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So I write a lot about being a woman, and just because it's it's hard out there for a woman and for gay people and for, a lot of my friends of color. It's been a rough time. And I think certain things don't go away, but I've found ways to celebrate as much as I rage, because there is so much to celebrate. But this is a poem about aging. It's called Permission. First, you learn that after a certain age, you should no longer suck your thumb in public, nor should you wear yard pants with no shirt or answer the phone. Who is it? Later, it becomes clear you should not beat soda machines or eat all the peppermint ice cream or make out on the carpet until your edges shriek with burning. Then comes a time you should not untie the top of your bathing suit while lying in the sun. The sun, a star that once lavished love light upon you. The sun that stole your beauty one day and moved on like a lover changing the locks while you're at the grocery store. There is an age past you must not flirt with anyone except babies, not bartenders, musicians, nor fellow travelers. You don't need to ask for directions. The future is deforested. But now, you can roll down the car windows and listen to Etta James or Cat Power as loud as you want. Love without losing the hard jewel under your ribs. Your scent is the honey of loyalty. You can lie on a picnic blanket with your girlfriends at an art festival, drink wine from a solo cup, command the air to change from clear to sapphire. You may dance in a pool of shade by a darkening lake and smoke with your oldest friend because finally, no one is paying any attention to you.
Wow.
It's not so bad. And I'm not a smoker, by the way. It just worked for the poem.
I got it. That was one of the poems that I read when I was reading your poetry in Puerto Rico during the summer when you sent me the book. And I enjoyed having them to read on the beach, and I remember that one. It was just, yeah, that's a sweet poem. And as you know, I like to hear it twice. So can you read it for us?
You don't need to hear it twice. I would rather read one more poem.
Okay,
about why I wrote.
I'll let you lead. You're here.
Okay.
Read another poem for me. Read me another one.
All right. I want to read a poem about why I write poetry. Okay. Everybody has, why do you do what you do? And one of the universities I've attended in my life asked me to write something for their alumni magazine, which is Why I, and it's usually a little essay. Somebody's like, why I'm a nuclear physicist, or but it's all, some alumna or alumni is picked to write just why I'm doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And of course I said, can I do it in poetic form? So I wrote a poem instead of an essay. But once I started thinking about it, it became a real meditation for me on why I do what I do. And some people say, how do you start a poem? I said, sometimes it's just a memory or an image or a dream or something that somebody says that just sticks with you. But the why of it I tried to put in this poem. So I figured I'd read this one last and, maybe inspire somebody to try writing their own poetry, because it's for everyone. It's a free human activity. And it's some beautiful work, even if you never show it to anyone. Okay, it's called Why I Sing in Black and White. Because the line at the coffee shop was long, and the cast-off lover behind me chanted a breakup saga into her cell phone, all the details laid out like ancient scarabs on velvet. Because in a dream, my long-gone granny walked next to me in the surf, eating fried chicken, water swirling at our knees. She warned of deep weather. We could smell the dark green Atlantic and warm black inner tubes, while babies that were mine but not mine floated by, impossible to catch and keep. Because as a girl, I wanted not to be, but to have a farm with horses and collies. Because it turns out that there are too many lives to live and only enough time and money for one. Because this is the only way to set things right, or down, or free, or on fire, depending on the story. Because my parents' voices still sing in my head, their days of worry and joy weave into my own, like flickering reels of truth on the decorated walls of my memory. Because when I read Keats for the first time, I wept in the second row of the public square of adolescence. Because the teacher saw the shutters behind my eyes bang open, and for a minute, we were ageless together. Because poetry can vanquish shame, make it into a box of air to stand on. Because the stories will be told. Betrayals turn to moss and leaves, griefs spun to gold.
Wow.
That's why I do it.
I see. And you're good at it too. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to get together. Let me ask you, we've got a few minutes before we go into meditation. I just want to ask you a question. And it's my favorite question, but none of us are the same now as we were a year ago. We're all different. I'm certainly in a place of I'm more loving. I'm more clear about who I am, my purpose in the world. And I don't know that I would have ever discovered all this stuff if I hadn't had this big time out. What would you say that you've discovered? What wonderful things, Susan, have you discovered about yourself in the last year as a result of this big time out?
Well, I discovered, kind of touching on what we discussed in the beginning, that I don't have to be doing something all the time. I also discovered that the natural world got its own agenda, and that has been such an inspiration to me. It's almost like when you're busy, you don't notice what's going on all around you. And I live in a neighborhood where there's lots of birds and flowers, and I just started wandering more like a creature of the earth than a person with an agenda that had nothing to do with my surroundings. And because Florida is so near and dear to me in terms of wanting to save what's beautiful about it, it was just a real privilege to walk around and greet the herons and the egrets and see the flowers alive with bees and strange things blooming. And it was, I don't know, it was kind of an awakening to what's always humming along right underneath my busy existence, and making more time for it and being so filled with gratitude that I had this time to do that. Also, I just, I had, like a lot of people, I kind of formed a quarantine with a few friends that we decided, okay, we can only see each other and we're going to be really good. And we developed some really amazing closeness and sharing in ways that, when you're busy all the time, you pencil your friends in. But this was like, it was a more committed friendship, and it was great. and my housemates, Rick and Scott, who are, you know, they run a business together, but they were at home because it was retail. And so the three of us had a really, you know, and they're married, and I'm, you know, I'm the crazy girl living in the rental room in the back, but we had such a good time. Just, what are we going to do today? There was a lot of pool time, a lot of talking, a lot of reading, a lot of domino playing on their part. But it was a way to get to relax together in a way that most people just don't have. I don't know. It was kind of, I felt better. I felt healthier. And it was horrible because everyone was complaining, and it was hard to say, I'm digging this. I really feel good. I'm taking more time for things that I needed to all along. So.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I think that's beautifully articulate. I would say I agree. I think I couldn't say it for myself any clearer. Just being able to be and not have to do. It's just, and allow what I call it, when you get down to this place of being, then you, and I am what I would, people say, well, I'm a mystic. And all that means is that I have gotten to the place where I don't have as much of a belief system in a creator as much as I allow that mystical creative process to live through me every moment. And I'm really aware when it's not. And I think that's what I'm getting from you, is that when you stop in your being, you're allowing that creative genius, that creative energy that created the whole universe to wake up inside of ourselves, wake up inside of you and produce this beautiful, magical poetry, transformative poetry. And that's what poetry does. It transforms us from one way of being to another, because you're sharing your transformation through this beautiful creative process. So that's the story I'm making up about the story you just told me.
Thank you. I love it.
I knew we'd have some fun today together, cousin.
Yeah.
I want to go back and say, actually, I was just thinking as you were reading, the last time I saw you and I saw your mother.
And we were with your mother.
And my mother. We were all together down in on the
West Coast.
Yeah, on the West Coast. My mother, my brother, and I, we all rented a condo down there, and y'all came over and spent a day. But I still got a picture of it, and it was just such a great time of just connection and being together. And I'll always have a great memory of that moment together when we all four, just with no agenda, just got together and had lunch and spent some time at the beach and got a chance to love and be with each other. It was really great. So
it was wonderful.
Yeah,
I think about that day all the time.
Yeah, me too. It's great. It's really when you get still and you realize, particularly when you begin to really associate with nature, is really what a miraculous thing we are as human beings.
Yeah.
To be able to take what's out there and connect with it and bring and create more of it. You know, it's just amazing to me. It truly is. And that's what for me, what I'm hearing you say, we may have never discovered that deeper part of ourselves, that more intimate part of ourselves, that more creative power we all have. And I'll say one other thing that I think about women really quick, why I'm so excited about celebrating women, is that, as you know, my big mission in the world is to eradicate the scarcity mindset from the planet and any kind of poverty mindset, because it's just a big lie. It based on an idea there's not enough going on, not enough resources, not enough money, not enough, and it's just absurd, because the creator of the universe, there is infinite resources, including money, to create a wonderful life for ourselves. And women are leading that movement to a prosperity mindset. They are leading, because it's women and the divine feminine. And I just am so grateful. I mean, and examples of that are like just Stacey Abrams, for example, standing up, truth to power. I mean, talk about a fierce, loving woman who is actually taking that presence and allowing that divine presence in her, the divine feminine in her, to lead our country really out of that old scarcity, male dominating. It's all for me. Let me grab my share of the power, so that we can actually begin. And this movement is not some idea, it's utopia. It's really about creating social structures, economic structures that benefit everyone. And that bill that was passed this week is significant. It is significant in moving our world toward that. I got chills thinking about that. Toward that prosperity mind, toward the truth of who we are, so that we can build these structures that are for the benefit of everyone, not just for a few. And it's just, and women, Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, and the women in Congress, they're just, and don't forget about Nancy Pelosi. My God, talk about fierce. Talk about fierce love.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Honestly, those women amaze me. All the ones you mentioned, and when I see how hard it is for women to fight all kinds of biases, and even some of them so systemic and deep that most people don't even recognize them, and to just keep at it and keep at it, that it just means so much to me. They're heroines.
Yes, they are. And so as being a gay man myself, I am following you women, and I am bringing the gay, bi, trans men in line. Hey. We're going to get right in there behind you, and we are going to begin as entrepreneurs. Particularly, we're moving out of that old mean. It's just mean scarcity way of thinking. It's greedy and hateful, and oh my God, it's so much more exciting when we live in the truth of prosperity. It's just amazing. And I'm just grateful for women. That's why I'm so excited about celebrating them and celebrating you today, and acknowledging you for your gifts to the world with your poetry and your time and your family. I know you love your family deeply and your students. And so any student, anything that you get to teach them is a very lucky student.
Aww. And women are grateful for gay men like you. Y'all have always had our back.
We've taken care of each other, I think, pretty well.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful reciprocity of love and support, and I'm grateful for it. So thank you for that. So now we're going to do a little meditation, and today we're going to, so you just can follow along, if you will. And what I like to do when we start meditation, and I'm particularly excited about it today, is start with just getting your hands up in the air. Just raise your hands up in the air in celebration of women. You know what raised your hands? You might think your arms did, but no, that divine life spirit in you. Because if you didn't have that in your hands, I don't care how big the muscles were, they would not move. That is what raised your hand, that life force in you that we're talking about. That's what I'm going to raise that life force up into the air right now in joy and celebration and gratitude for you, Susan, and all the women in the world who are leading us out of this old way of thinking in poverty into a world thinking in prosperity, in abundance, and love and creativity. So let's just put our hand. Thank you for that as we sit down and meditate. And just breathe into that joy and gratitude of being, just being. And feel that for a second. Just feel that life energy in your body, in your toes, in your fingers, that energy of creation of all things flowing through us. It's who we are, it's our essence. Maybe you can put them down on your side and relax. Sit up straight, tall, like a proud human being, and begin to focus on your breath. We're going to do something called mindful breathing or consciousness breathing. And one of the techniques that I learned and I like to teach people is the class, what do you do with your mouth when you meditate? Well, I'll explain something to you, is that when we meditate, when we think, the back of our tongue vibrates a little bit. So if we take the tip of our tongue and put it on the roof of your mouth, just behind your front teeth, part your lips slightly, relax your jaw, And allow the breath to gently massage the back of your tongue. Consciously think about it slowing down the tongue, and it will slow down your thinking. And that's the idea of meditation. We want to slow down the thinking. So just try it. Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth. Slightly open your mouth. Relax your jaw and relax your tongue. And just breathe. Just begin to breathe. And be still. Allow yourself to fall into the natural rhythm of breathing, bringing in that life force in through your nose, down your throat, massaging the back of your tongue, expanding the heart, pulling deep into the belly to anchor yourself. We're going to do 3 what I call big, expansive belly breaths. To pull more life force, to pull more breath deep inside ourselves, to anchor it deep in the belly. So when you're ready, with your belly muscles, pull the breath in through your nose, down your throat, and open your heart, and deep, deep, deep into your belly. Ready? Hold it, hold it, hold it, and now let it go slowly. And as you let the breath go, let go of every single thought, every opinion, every belief, every judgment you have about yourself, this world, about me. Just let it go. Hold on to nothing. And just allow yourself to take a moment now and just breathe into the new space you've created for yourself. Gently massaging with the breath the back of your throat to slow down the thinking. No doing, no thinking. We want to thank that brilliant mind for all its thinking, but we can give it a little vacation right now. We're going to do another big belly breath to create some more space inside ourselves. So then, with your belly, pull the air in through your nose and down your throat. Massage the back of your tongue. Expand your heart. And pull the breath deep into your belly. Ready? Hold it deep inside. Take in a little bit more. And now slowly just let it go. And as you let it go, let every single thought, every belief you have about what is good or bad, right and wrong, don't make any judgments about anything. Just let it all go. All that nonsense, just let it go. And just breathe into that spaciousness. We're going to do one more belly breath. Sound of the bell. In through the nose, down the throat, deep into the belly. Ready? Hold it, like a little more. And now just let it all go. Totally allow yourself to get still and be present to your divine nature. Oh, there's that sweet wake-up bell to wake us up from our thinking, our planning, our thoughts, our worrying. And the invitation is just to smile and let them go and fall back into that stillness, that emptiness of unconditional love within ourselves. Oh, there's that sweet wake up bell again to wake us up from our thinking, our planning, our worrying, our wondering how much long do I have to meditate thinking. The invitation is just to let it go and fall back into that infinite, timeless space of unconditional love. There's that sweet wake-up bell to wake us from our thinking, our planning, our worrying. If you find yourself thinking, remember you have that anchor in your belly to pull the breath deeper out of your head into your belly, into that spaciousness, that infinite space, creativity within ourselves. Just pull yourself down deeper inside. Now there's that final bell to bring us back into the physical and mental realm of our being. Wow. Joy it was to go into that together with you today, cousin.
Amen to that. For a while, I forgot I was sitting here in front of a computer and a camera. Mission accomplished.
Good. That's the whole idea, is to get us out in the world and the mental and the physical realm for just a little while, to give us a break, to go into a world of no thought and no drama too.
Yes.
No drama.
None.
Good. That's great. It's a great space
Loved
to be
it.
in. Yeah, I loved being there with you, guiding us all through that today. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I just want to put a shout out to a new Facebook group that I've created for, as many people know, I am a prosperity mindset and spiritual coach and spiritual teacher to gay, bi, transgender men, particularly men that have their own businesses. And I have created a new Facebook group specifically for us. You might want to tell your housemates about my group. I'm going to write them a little note to remind me and remind myself after this, and invite them to our new Facebook group. And the idea is to create community of a prosperous community of entrepreneurs who are building their businesses on love and community and not on competition. And I'm really excited about doing that. So, and I'm doing all kinds of workshops and things in there specifically for us. So if that's you, if it resonates with you, please click on the button or the link that's somewhere around this video and join us. Now, before we go out and go into that, I want to give people an opportunity to get to find you, Susan, and to find your book. I did post the link, it's somewhere close to where around this video somewhere. There's a link to the publisher. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you and your book, et cetera, et cetera.
My publisher is Burrow Press, burrowpress.com. And like Martin said, he posted a link. They do beautiful books. They're a Florida-based publisher. I'm real proud of that because they're a literary publisher that is not connected to a college or university, which is they're independent. And you could also get my book from Amazon. So if you look me up, you might see my other chapbook, Satellite Beach, but the newest one and the one that has the most of my poetry is Venus in Retrograde. So I know Burrow Press, if anybody wants to buy the book, Burrow Press would appreciate going straight to them because I want to support that beautiful Florida press. Yeah. But Amazon's okay too.
Well, I'm with you on that. Amazon is great, but you know, why not? Yeah. If we can support a local business that's supporting our artists, then by all means, let's do that. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
And if you'll I'm just going to close this out here, and if you could just hang on for a minute, we'll have a few minutes to chat behind stage here. Okay. So everyone, thank you so much for being with us today, and I'll be back on Monday at the same time. And in the meantime, may love and prosperity prevail. Thank you.